Welcome to YouTube channel of Mahajan Computers. In this lecture, I am going to throw light on the concept of nested loops. As you might have guessed, nested loops means when we people have got two loops, one within another, the outer loop and the inner loop. Now see, the basic concept behind this nested loops topic is that we people have got an outer loop, and there is a rule that for each turn of outer loop the inner loop executes some specified number of times. I will explain it with the help of an example. Suppose we are supposed to read the marks of three students in three tests each. See the diagram. In the diagram I have shown student 1, student 2, student 3, right? Now what will happen is, when I will be reading the marks of the first student, that is student 1, I would say that right now I am working in the first turn of the outer loop. So I am supposed to read 3 marks for the student 1. MK1 is the marks of the first student in the first subject in the first test. MK2 is the marks of the first student in the second test. MK3 happens to be the marks of the first student in the third test. Now you can see we are finished with the reading of marks of the first student. Now what do we do? Naturally we will jump over to the second student, and for the second student we are going to read again the marks in three tests. Again for the second turn of the outer loop, that is for the second student, the inner loop is going to be executed thrice. Now this MK1 that I have highlighted, this represents the reading of the marks of the second student in first test, and now this represents the reading of the marks of the second test of the second student, and this one reading of the marks of the second student in third test. Now we are finished with the reading of marks for the second student. In other words, I can say that I am finished with the second turn of the outer loop. Now what do we do? Of course, we will jump to the student 3. Now in student 3 again the same process is going to be repeated. Inner loop will execute again thrice. MK1, this MK1 that I have highlighted represents the reading of marks of the third student in the first subject. MK2 reading of the marks of the third student in second subject, and this one reading of the marks of the third student in third subject. So you might have guessed this is all about uh, the concept goes like this. What we conclude is that for each turn of outer loop, the inner loop is executed some specified number of times. Now I will explain it with the help of an example. In nested loops, both the loops they may be of the same type. Like if I am going to have my outer loop as for loop, the inner loop would be either for loop, or it could be while loop, or it could be do while loop. And this is how I am going to explain this with the help of an example. See guys, I have declared two variables, namely I and j. I'm going to apply the for loop both for outer loop as well as for inner loop. Okay, this is end of your inner loop, and this is end of your outer loop. Okay. In this example, what I am going to do is I am going to apply the outer loop which takes care of the counter variable I, and outer loop will be executing 5 number of times, and this is inner loop. For j is equal to 1, j is less than equal to 3, j plus plus. This inner loop means that for each turn of outer loop, this inner loop will be executed thrice, 3 times. Okay, let me explain this like this. For the first time, outer loop will be executing. The value of I would be initialized with 1, and condition would be tested. I is less than equal to 5. Condition turns out to be true. J would be initialized with 1. J is less than or equal to 3, and this is going to print the value of I and j. Of course, both the values will be 1 and 1, because first time the value of I is 1, and that of j is also 1. Okay, so what is going to take place next is inner loop will be executing first, and what would happen is, as you know, after printing the value of I and j, this printf statement happens to be belonging to the inner loop, that is j loop. Now it will go up and increment the value of j by 1. The value of j will become 2, and this condition would be tested. J is less than or equal to 3. Yes, condition is true because value of j is 2, and again the value of I and j will be printed. Now guys, the values that will be printed now is the value of I will be printed as 1 only, and that of j would be 2. Of course, uh, this is what is going to be printed. This is my try test. Value of I is 1, that of j is now 2. Again, it will go at the last component of the inner loop. Value of j will be incremented by 1, and that will become 3. Condition is true. It will come down to the printf statement, and value of I and j will be printed again, and this time over value of I is stagnant at 1, as you know, and that of j is getting incremented each time. So what will be printed on screen is 1, that is the value of I, 3, this is the value of j. Okay, now again the control will go up to j plus plus, and this time our value of j will become 4, and your condition is false. Now inner loop would be terminated because condition has become false, and this is your the closing curly braces of your outer loop. It will go up to the last component of outer loop, I plus plus. Now the value of I will be incremented, and from 1 it will become 2. Condition would be tested. I is less than equal to 5. Condition is 2, and again it will come down to the inner loop, and value of j would be reinitialized to 1. Guys, remember previous time when inner loop was terminated, the value of j was 4, because at that point of time the condition was false and inner loop was terminated. Now j is equal to 1. This time over, this statement, initialization statement, is going to reinitialize the value of j to 1. From 4 it will become 1. Condition would be tested. Condition is true because 1 is less than or equal to 3, and value of I and j would be printed. And I suppose you might have guessed now the value of I is 2, and that of j is 1. Okay, again inner loop will be exhausted fully. It will go up j plus plus, value of j will become 2. Condition would be tested, it is true, and value of I and j will be printed, and that will be 2 and 2. Okay, let's go back. Again it will go back, inner loop is getting executed, j plus plus, value of j will become 3. Condition is true, values of I and j will be printed, and this time over it would be 2 and 3, value of I2 and that of j 3. Again it will go up, value of j will become 4, condition would be falsified, your inner loop will terminate, and again it will go up to the last component of outer loop I plus plus. Now the value of I will become 3, and condition would be tested. Condition of the outer loop is true, it will come down to the inner loop, value of j will again be reinitialized to 1, and inner loop will again start, again it will be executing thrice. So again the output would be like 3 1 and 3 2 3 3, right? And it would go on like this. And now see, one thing to be taken into account is that as far as inner loop is concerned, inner loop executes more frequently than the outer loop. Why? Because again I will repeat it, for each turn of outer loop, inner loop is executed n number of times. In this example, it is executing 3 number of, for each turn of outer loop it is executing 3 number of times. So you can clearly see that inner loop has been executed 15 times in this example, and we would say that outer loop has been executed only 5 times. So guys, I have tried to explain how does your nested loops concept it works. We will meet next time. Thank you.